T minus 3, 2, 1, ignition.
What you know about this life? Yeah. Just relax, baby, get high. Yeah, you're on your way to the best night ever. No top, no top, no top. I'll make this.
All right.
I love the notice
Yeah.
on it.
Hello, David, and thank you for joining us for the week 8 recap. I think how we'll start this is we'll just run through the draft. So can you see that? Or I need to share my screen.
Yeah. Yeah, the infamous Mexico draft. I'm ready for it.
Okay. Can you see this?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so we'll just run through this and how it kind of worked out for people by week 8. So we can start with the first round. You want to grade some of these picks?
Yeah, I know. So I obviously had the fun background of actually being there. So it was always very interesting to be involved in it. Yeah, I always think this is at least nice because I think I have more understanding of the keepers going into it, whereas sometimes I'm always like, that's a crazy number 1 overall pick, and then forget about all the keepers that you guys have in this league. Yeah. So obviously I know that Bobby had the most picks in the draft, right? Because he had all the trades coming through.
He was
Obviously I think
3 seconds.
Yeah. Obviously you have to feel bad for the Nick Chubb injury. That sucks in terms of spending him on the 3rd pick, especially with how good he was looking to start. And then same with like Jacob taking Garrett Wilson and then Aaron Rodgers going down within like the first 5 minutes and kind of blowing up that whole connection that everyone was excited about. So all in all, I think like the big winners of it with Kelsey, if he's continues to date Taylor Swift and has her at every single game, seems like his yardage is exploding. There's some funny data around that. And then Bijan looks like a workhorse, except for when they just scratch him and he only gets 1 snap because he has like a little minor cough. So
What do you think
all
of
in all, I
Tony
don't think
Pollard
those
this year?
Tony Pollard. So I don't follow Tony Pollard as well, but did you see that funny Reddit trade that's going on?
Mm-mm.
There was like some funny proposal where this guy's like 2-5 in his league, and he's reaching out to the guy that's like 7-1, and he's basically offering Tony Pollard and 1 night of like sleeping with his wife for Christian McCaffrey because he wants more stability at running back position. So that's like my biggest involvement with Tony Pollard. I think he's kind of been very hit or miss, and obviously over the last few weeks, that Dallas offense, they've kind of been prioritizing passing to CeeDee Lamb, which is great for my league, but maybe seen a little drop off with TP.
Yeah, it's been rough. I think everybody expected a lot from him. But yeah, overall, the first round was good. Thomas had 2 picks late in the first round. He took Devontae and Jalen Waddle. So kind of worked out. Waddle's kind of turned it around. Devontae just been horrible this year. I don't know that Raiders offense and organization is just blowing it up.
Yeah. Didn't you end up trading for Jalen Waddle too?
Yeah, I have Waddle now, so I finally got him.
So kind of like your draft pick. You finally got your first round draft pick was returned.
I traded him for Swift, which Swift has been great too. So
yeah, I think he's been like the big value late in those rounds. But yeah, the Devontae Adams one's been interesting. Like he's still always so wide open, but just Jimmy or no one can throw it to him. I think they were like breaking down film on their whatever game just got the coach fired, where it's like Devontae Adams could have like a 90-yard touchdown reception and like a 60-yard touchdown reception, but they were just total misfires from Jimmy Garoppolo. So I know, I feel like that's been an interesting one. And then the Ramondre Stevenson right in the second round, that one's also been painful, I think, for
Bobby.
my team.
Honestly,
I'm sure other ones.
We were talking about Bobby. He took Jacobs, Stevens, and T. Higgins, and like everybody went into this year being like, oh my God, Bobby has 3 second-round picks. This is gonna be crazy. But I don't think they've really panned out, except for like partially Jacobs, but he's not even as good as T. Higgins.
I know that whole Raiders, like you said, is just in turmoil. It's kind of hard to think about what they're going to be doing, that team.
Yeah.
But all in all, I'm sure Cam has probably been pissed about the Aaron Jones pick as well.
God.
Like I have in one of my leagues and it was awesome like week 1. Then of course he goes into the hamstring injury, is hurt. And then now, even with him back, it still seems like he can't do anything. AJ Dillon's outscoring him week over week, which is just the most absurd thing. And it just sucks the RB1 like Aaron Jones. So it
AJ
does kind of
Dillon
hurt
was
Cam.
everybody. I mean, he is such a big disappointment. I thought he was gonna be so good like 2 years ago. He just never
know.
works out.
Yeah, he's just good enough to like take enough carries away from Aaron Jones to make like Aaron Jones a frustrating person to have on your team. Because it's just like, what the hell? Why is this guy getting all these goal line carries and he can't even punch it in? He's just running it for like 2 yards or 1 yard. But he's still poaching all the Aaron Jones carries. But I'm sure he's been pumped about Keenan Allen. Like it looks
Yeah, that's
like
what I was
he's
gonna
just
ask.
going to get 200 receptions this year at the rate that he's going on. It's been absurd.
Yeah. I mean, the targets are always, I mean, 20 targets week 3 was insane. I had the pleasure
Yeah.
of playing him that week, so that was a lot of fun. But yeah, overall the second and third round, nothing too crazy that I'm seeing. I mean, I still like Gibbs. He's coming out finally. So
Yeah.
um
Christian Watson's kind of sucked, hasn't he? I feel like
yeah,
that's not been I wouldn't have
yeah.
been too pumped about that. And
And
I
talking
think wasn't that the pick that didn't Jacob really want Christian Watson? Like he
yeah,
was so pissed when he got picked in front of him. He
yeah.
had like the meltdown.
Yeah, and Connor over here with Chris Olave and Devontae Smith. Those two have been
Yeah.
very, not reliable. So I know that he's been struggling with wide receiver consistency. But he did swoop up Alvin Kamara over here in the 5th. So,
Ooh.
that's been huge. I mean, people thought Alvin Kamara would be, kind of how he finished last year, which is like pretty good, but not like he is right now. He's like top 3. So,
I think he had one game where he had like 12 receptions for like 70 yards.
oh
And
yeah,
if you
he's
have like
getting
a
like
PPR, it
14,
just like
15 targets.
blew up. Just
Yeah.
getting so many targets. Derek Carr, the check down king, just dumping it off to him.
Yeah, it's been crazy. I think so far we were talking about it, Thomas and I think that well, Nally's been hurt, but I don't even see him on here. But I'm trying to think the Lions starting running back before.
Oh, David Montgomery.
Yeah, David
Yeah, yeah.
Montgomery. He was picked really late. He was one of our better, picks. I don't know why I'm not seeing
Yeah,
him.
he like absolutely blew up to start the season 2. He's right there, 8.5 underneath Stafford.
Oh, there we go. Oh, his face isn't there.
Yeah, I know he like blew up to start, right? Like didn't he almost had like back-to-back 20-point games or something like that. When is he even supposed to be back? Did they put him on the IR? So is he returning
Yeah,
here the next
I think
like
next week.
probably this week or so, right? Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what they do because similarly Gibbs has been playing pretty well. So it'll be interesting to see if they go back to that previous split where they were giving Montgomery the primary carries, or if they kind of transition more to Gibbs. So either way, like good problem for the Detroit Lions to have, but not great from like a fantasy standpoint when you think your carries are getting split between running backs.
I know.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say the other one I saw in here, the Darren Waller hype was always super interesting. I think a lot of people have been pretty upset because I know that he was just gassed up a ton going in the after the off season. And I think a lot of my leagues people were taking him pretty early, and he hasn't necessarily materialized. I think with how early he was getting picked.
Yeah, and he's out now. I didn't see his injury, but I just know he's not playing.
Oh, he's out too. I didn't even know
Yeah,
that.
let's see. Yeah, officially out. But just hamstring. He got hurt last game, didn't do anything, and now he has a hamstring. So
Yeah,
I did 9 for.
it's hard when Terod Taylor and Daniel Jones are throwing to you.
I did not expect that. I mean, the Giants were in the playoffs last year, and then they just turned into this horrible.
Yeah.
So yeah, overall, I don't think anyone necessarily won the draft. I mean, like, yeah, it was like a way out and above everybody. It was pretty fair all the way across.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the fantasy season's just taking its toll. So let's run into. Let me share the.
Remember everyone was mean to you about Kyle Pitts? Kind of actually looked like a pretty good tight end.
I
Been
actually
playing
have
pretty
on
well.
them still. So
Yeah.
let's look through this little PowerPoint I have just from the beginning, but I gotta share the screen. There we go. All right, can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. All right.
I think I took this picture.
Yes, and you took this picture. You were there. We have some really good pictures I need to share with you. But yeah, good time out there. So this is our week 8 recap and week 9 preview by Michael Sullivan, David Leonardo, you know, the Zen Bronies.
Zen Kings.
All right, so grading the teams. Basically, David always does this for us, and it's much appreciated. He has a little insight, like he said, a little bit different, because he knows some of the stuff that went on from hanging out with us at the wedding, but still good just to get that outside perspective. Just run through my team really quick. Few trades that I've made, just for insight. Biggest trade of the year was right off the bat before the season even started. I had Aaron Rodgers, and I had Amon-Ra, and Jacob had Deshaun Watson and Garrett Wilson. So we flipped those guys. Jacob has obviously won that trade. I think, Garrett Wilson, I think in my thinking was that Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers were going to be a little better. And they probably would have been. And it probably would have been somewhat fair, but Amon-Ra has just been crazy. So that's how Watson ended up on my team. Outside of that, I did trade for Puka. I traded him for CJ Stroud just straight across. And then Jalen Waddle for Swift. And other than that, it's basically my draft. So some thoughts.
Nice. Wait, so on the Puka one, if you traded for him, I'm assuming he was picked up as a free agent. So how does that play into your guys' keepers?
So he would have an 8-year contract. I've
Oh, nice.
contract. Okay. Yeah. Anybody that's picked
Yeah.
up is on an 8-year, and then anybody in the draft is whatever their draft round.
The draft. Okay. And you gave up, sorry, who'd you give up for that? I missed it for a second there. Oh, CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. CJ Stroud's like a pretty good quarterback, probably a little better than Deshaun Watson, but obviously Puka's been on fire. So I think it worked out. I know your team's been dog shit though, from what I heard at the wedding. I think we were going into it, you had maybe 1 or 2 wins. I can't really remember. But maybe hopefully luck has turned around. I don't think it's like the worst team in the world. It's always hard to level up the first one. And then maybe when James Conner comes back, I think he's 1 more week, right? So he should be back next year.
Yeah,
hopefully that will turn the tide for you.
He was playing great. Debo, obviously, he started the year great, and then he's just been shit with injuries.
Yeah.
Pacheco.
And then your quarterback with Deshaun being out, and you're trying to make the decision between Baker Mayfield and Jordan Love. Not necessarily the funnest decision to make, I think, at times. Although Baker's looked good sometimes, and then Jordan Love looked good early, but they've kind of both struggled recently. So I'm hoping you've gotten to 3 wins.
Okay. Jordan Love's
that's my hope for you.
Jordan Love's been super disappointing. I mean, I think this came out and said we're grading him really heavily over the next 10 games, just to even decide if he's gonna be a Packer going forward or if they need to move.
Yeah.
On. Because if you think about it, he was in Herbert's draft class and Joe Burrow, and come on, do we really need to wait on this guy anymore? Those guys have been good for years, and now we're putting Jordan Love in and hoping he's good. So
I know. Especially when you see the CJ Strouds, even Will Levis, who started these last 2 games, has looked very solid, and everything already knows, hey, these are actually really good quarterbacks who we can kind of bank on more. And Jordan Love, having sat behind Aaron Rodgers for 3 years now, maybe 3 years, you'd expect a little bit better, but it's kind of tough, especially how he looked week 1. Everyone was pumped about it week 1. I guess it was just the Bears. We should have known that the Bears are that bad, and that's why he looked so good.
Yeah, so my team's getting.
I'm putting you down for 3 wins.
Okay. My team's getting healthier because I got Saquon back and Waddle finally looked good. So we're hoping for a better second half of the year. All right. So then we're gonna go ahead and judge Connor's team.
Oh, my sweet prince.
Yes.
I'm sure. Well, I mean, I think other than like you said, Devontae Smith's probably been his biggest struggle, but Kyren Williams just looks so good. Derrick Henry's kind of disappointing. This is interesting. I feel like he's got 2 really good quarterbacks though, who could easily just been carrying him through a lot of these weeks. And then Hawkinson and Addison, even with Justin Jefferson being out, Addison's looked incredible. He's been playing super well.
Yeah, I mean,
A-Chain too.
Yeah. So Connor picked up A-Chain and Williams back-to-back weeks for nothing because he's just good at basically scouting. He's picking him up the week before they go off. They're on his bench, but he still has them when everybody finally wants them.
Yeah.
His quarterback situation's amazing. His running back situation's amazing. Again, I think the only thing we can really take away from his team is his wide receiver play, trying to figure out who to start between Ridley and Ayuk and Olave and Addison. I mean, Addison's probably the most
consistent out of them right now.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah, and I know Ridley's looked good too, but he's been kind of a frustrating, like I think the last 3 or 4 weeks or so, because I've kind of dealt with him being on my team. And I finally just moved him to the bench, I think for Addison, essentially. I was like, kept talking myself into playing Ridley over Addison, so it finally made that sense. Yeah, I feel like it's probably his biggest thing has been like choosing the right wide receivers at the right time. Like that's probably been his biggest pain point. And honestly, with Kyren Williams coming off of IR, now that Kamara is also off IR, I'll be interested to see what he does with his like running back setup, kind of rotating between Williams, Kamara, Kenneth Walker, Derrick Henry, and A-Chain. So seems like he's probably, I'm sure he's going to dangle one of them and try to trade them because having 5 running backs that are all like RB1s is probably going to be pretty tough. But I would say from his standpoint, seems like a very good team. I feel like also when I was talking to him, he was first in the league. So I'm sure he's hovered around that 6-win mark is my guess.
What do you think of the Kirk Cousins injury? Just how do you think that's going to affect Addison?
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Just
I don't know. Hopefully they pull my boy Sean Mannion off the practice squad, then they'll be fine. Just get Oregon State legend in there. That's tough. I didn't even really think about that. Yeah, can definitely see their stock going down a little bit.
They traded.
Yeah, he's ass.
Yeah, I mean, Kirk was just, they were throwing like so many times a game. So like,
yeah,
these guys were just eating. And I mean, it's just one of those things you can't replace that no matter how much you try.
For sure. I know they're starting the rookie this week too as well. So I'm sure it's going to be maybe a bit of a wake up call. And Atlanta's good too. Like they have a good defense. So that'll be kind of interesting to see how that goes between them.
Right. Sounds good. So we got a good.
Well, what week are we in? We're going into week 9, right?
So
what are my teams at?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. We've completed 8 weeks. This is week 9.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So we'll go and look at Bobby's team now. What's that?
Bill Stack.
Yes. And he did draft Cook, so he really has been rocking that Bill Stack.
Yeah. I'm sure it's been great some weeks, like when they had the Miami Dolphin weeks and stuff, but there's also been times where that team has just looked kind of abysmal for whatever reason.
Game Josh Allen had like 40 against Miami, but
yeah. AJ Brown and Stephon Diggs, it's a nice combo to have though from like a wide receiver standpoint. Like they both just put up so many receptions, and AJ Brown's kind of looked like a absolute stud for that team. And then you get Kelsey in there as well, which is kind of nice, especially when Taylor Swift's in the audience. He's playing a little bit better. So all that's bed and well. But yeah, I know that he was hyped up. Didn't he win last year, or
he won, yeah.
Second last year. He won last year. Okay, so he's going in as the champ. So he's defending the title. I'm sure he's had a little more hiccups than he would have thought after all like the picks he had. Just given maybe some inconsistent running back play would be my biggest concern with the team. And then also just, when the Bills are on, I'm sure it's fire, but when they're off, probably not as great for his team. Yeah, I'll put him down. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say like T. Higgins, disappointing. Pierce, like everybody, even last year, he was better as a rookie. Stevenson, you can almost not even start anymore. So he's like really relying on Jacobs and Cook, which aren't like, I don't know. Jacobs, obviously, he kind of started this last year the same way, where it was really slow, ramped up, and then he was just like going crazy the second half of the season. So yeah, like you said, I think Bobby expected a better team, but still, you can really ride those 4. Josh Allen, Diggs, and Brown, especially in Brown's putting up like 30 points a week, and then Kelsey can do the same thing.
I know.
So yeah.
And then you have the weeks where it's like the Stephon Diggs catching 2 or 3 touchdowns, which means Josh Allen threw him 2 or 3 touchdowns. It's like not really any chance stopping that. Yeah. I'm sure that Dameon Pierce has been tough too, because I don't think anyone really expected Stroud to be as good of a passer right off the bat. So because like the Texans have been able to, I think, throw the ball a lot more than maybe has been expected, Pierce just hasn't looked as great as I think he was hyped up for this year. But I put him down to 4 or 5 wins. I think I'm leaning towards the 5 wins, but we'll see how it shakes out. He could be like a flip of the coin for me when I do my final stack and guess.
All right, got Andrew coming
Trevor
up.
Lawrence jersey.
Yep, yep. All right, so who's been very disappointing this year? Yes, Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence. Yeah.
All right,
He's
and
got
this
him on the bench. That's depressing.
well,
Oh, I
no,
guess he's
no,
on the bye.
five.
Never mind.
Yeah, so this is a little
Yeah, okay.
confusing. But he has a lot of big players for him on buys this week. You can see CMC, Kittle, Christian Kirk, and
Yeah.
it's gonna be a rough week for him, but still overall, pretty good team. He's got Eckler, CeeDee Lamb. I mean, you can kind of go into it a little.
Type Jerome Ford after the injury.
Yeah, his biggest knock is probably QB play.
Yeah. Which is hard in a 2 QB league, right? Like you kind of need people that consistently are putting up those 20 points each just because there's such a big way of getting like checkpoints on it. But he did pretty good, it seems like, with the waiver wire finds like Jerome Ford and Gus Edwards after like 2 big injuries, like being able to kind of swoop in there and grab people. Didn't Gus Edwards have like 2 touchdowns last week
Yeah.
too? It seems like he's just an absolute touchdown machine for them in terms of like anything good into the end zone. He's like getting the bulk of the carries. Then CeeDee Lamb obviously popped off last week. And hopefully he'll continue to do that moving forward as a multi-league CeeDee Lamb owner. Speaking over here. As long as they like commit to throwing it to him. And then Eckler's missed what, 2 games already this year?
Yeah, a little disappointing.
Yeah, and then
but
Christian
still,
McCaffrey got a little hurt, but not too bad. Yeah, I mean, it seems like a very solid team, like you said. Definitely the weakness is probably on the QB play, which sucks because I would expect Trevor Lawrence to, after his last year, be up there as like a top 5 or 6 fantasy quarterback. And I'm sure he's shown weeks of that this year, but definitely has not been there as much, although they still keep finding ways to win games. So I'm going to peg Andrew down. I'm putting him in the 4 wins, my guess.
you wouldn't believe like with a 2 QB league, and then you get these weeks for like 5 or 6 buy teams, and then you have all these injuries. It's like people are scraping for quarterbacks at this point. Like you're deciding like who am I gonna pick up from the waivers. So it's pretty funny. But
I know I'm sure some people are probably sitting there like having to start the Minnesota quarterback this week, right? Like the rookie. They're like,
yeah, it gets
shit, I
really
can't believe I
bad.
start this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's a good kind of overall view of Andrew's team. So
His Dallas defense, though, has been probably one of his best players. I
Yeah.
think they have like, I haven't won the leagues. They've just carried me the first 3 weeks. It was absurd how many points they're putting up.
all right, so this is Cam. So yeah, you can kind of look. He has CJ Stroud now. Cam is one of the people that have really I mean, he had Richardson and he lost Richardson, so that's why he made that Puka for Stroud trade. He also had Cup, so it worked out for him because he was never going to start Puka.
Yeah.
I don't know. Cam's team has been pretty solid. You can't really knock him too much, except for maybe QB play because Joe Burrow has been kind of rough this year. And then his running backs
Yeah.
are rough. I'll explain to you really quick. The DeAndre Swift trade was kind of funny because the way that we have it working out is that you can't pick up players like every day. It's like rolling waivers. So I was basically playing Cam on Monday night. He offered Swift for me for just a second. And like I was like, oh, it was the second week of the year, so our third week. So like we already saw Swift have 28 points and it was like really crazy. But I was like, if I do trade this, Cam also can't start him against me. So he's gonna be like 1 position down. And so I took the trade, which at the time everybody made fun of me and was like, oh my God. But Swift's honestly been great. So
Yeah.
but yeah, Cam played me with 9 guys that week, but he did have he still ended up winning just barely because Jamar Chase was that first game against the Rams or whatever where he had like 25 points. But yeah.
That's so funny. But the rolling waivers are always so brutal for some days. Like we have it in some of our leagues, then other ones it's like after waivers, everyone's just kind of a free pick up until after the game or whatever. That's when they get locked into the next week. But
So
yeah, that's smart on your side. Sharp move that obviously didn't work out as
yeah,
well as you probably would have wanted, but DeAndre Swift's not bad to have.
I
And then you
what
end up trading Swift,
yeah, I traded him for Waddle, so it was like perfect, and it was
and
just
then you
one.
trade for Waddle.
So,
Yeah.
but what I was saying that for is I wonder if Cam at this point is thinking I kind of wish I just had Swift, because his running back situation.
Yeah, for like the running back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the nice thing, I'm sure his team's been kind of interesting because similarly like the feast or famine, where you have the stack of like Burrow and Chase, and honestly they've looked like so anemic the first like 4 or 5 weeks through the season. I know they had like the one big game, like you said, where they popped off. I can't remember who that was against, but they were just targeting Chase a billion times. But then they still have some weeks where I think just because Joe Burrow is not 100% healthy, they're not like spinning the ball as well. Um, oh man, we only have like 9 minutes left, by the way.
Oh, we're
So I got to
good.
pick up the pace. But I think Cooper Kupp coming back is probably super helpful for him. But like you said, the running back issue is hard. Laporta's sick though. That's a great pickup to have. Zay Flowers been consistent. So once he gets Montgomery back, I'm sure he'll be pretty stoked and get hopefully his running back stability back. Because Jones is just the worst. I hate Aaron Jones so much. Like he's just
So
the bane
bad.
of my existence in some of these leagues. I think, yeah, I'm sure he's had some tough weeks. So I don't think he's gonna be towards the top or his bottom. I'm sure he's like falling pretty average, like in the middle, like a solid team that just needs to get healthy and could very much be a problem down the road.
There we go. All right. We got Finley next. And when I talk about people are scraping, I don't even know what's going on anymore for quarterbacks. You just see who he has in his starting lineup right now.
Oh my God.
I hope he's not serious, but he has Taysom Hill in there.
That is so brutal. I think Jason Hill's like questionable too. I mean, it's interesting because he can do stuff like he did last week where he had like a rushing touchdown. Then he also have like a passing touchdown out of the blue. So somehow he actually ends up scoring like 23 points or
Yeah,
whatever in
he
like
had a
PPR
crazy
leagues, which
week.
is hilarious.
Yeah.
But then he has like weeks where you never know what they're gonna do. Like if they just don't scheme him into it, he may barely touch the ball. I'm sure this has been a tough team, but having Mostert and Tyreek Hill, like a couple of those weeks, I'm sure has been great for him. Like Jonathan Taylor coming back in the fold has probably been super helpful. He surprised he's not playing. Well, I guess DJ Moore is maybe not as fun to play with Fields out. But all in all, it's like a very solid team. Like Fields probably been super well, like in terms of value. Like I'm sure he didn't get drafted, he probably was picked up and he's been performing extremely well. So I'm sure he's just praying to get Kyler Murray back and Justin Fields healthy because then I'll at least have some dynamic quarterbacks. He's not having to rely on straight Taysom Hill. That's pretty tough to see. What has he been doing these last few weeks with Fields hurt? Has he just
He's
been
been
like rotating
starting.
through random
Yeah, I think
quarterbacks?
he had. I can't remember. It was probably like Minshew and Wilson. He's been starting. I mean, I kept telling Nick that he just needs to unload for Tua because I mean, to have Tua and Tyreek for like the next 3 years would be just crazy. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, his team is like he has all of these boomer bust players. This is what I kind of
Yeah.
think. Like all of these guys we've seen put up, like 30-point, like Mozart, Hill, Pollard, Gibbs, but they also can do, basically those 6-point games. And even
Yeah.
Taylor back has been awesome for him. So it's kind of this thing where he's like slowly, he's just hanging in there, but he could be a lot better as he gets healthy.
Yeah, could be like trending in the right direction for sure. Like people getting help, like you said, and then obviously Gibbs on the bye. Pollard's kind of been painful at times, so I'm sure he's had some struggles. But I think Murray could be super helpful if they do like decide to actually play him this year because he's always super dynamic, fun to watch. So I
Yeah.
have him pegged like similar to you, 3 to 4 wins. I'm leaning towards the 3 win side, but that's where I have him at right now.
All right. We got Mr. Thomas.
Oh, my baby boy.
All right. So here's another one where, we're already getting Will Levis in there.
You threw Will Levison.
Yeah, because look who
Yeah, the Kirk Cousins.
Thomas, we're sitting there at the market last weekend and I'm like in the back, like watching the game and I see Kirk Cousins injury and I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna freak out. And then the rest of the day he's just pissed off.
Oh, he's so angry. Was he at least nice to customers still?
Yeah, barely. He was like just
Barely.
no, I'm just kidding. But
Yeah.
Kirk was like this guy that he's been trying to sell for like 3 or 4 weeks. He's like yelling at everybody in the league. He's like, you guys are starting these bums and Kirk's QB6, blah blah, just like selling him, can't believe it. And then he gets hurt. So it was like just a worst case scenario for Thomas.
That's so sad.
But yeah.
I think he's also going to regret this Deontay Johnson bench over Rashad White, probably. I don't think he's going to love that. But who knows? Deontay Johnson catching his first touchdown pass since 2021 is pretty crazy to think about. Yeah, this is really hard. Like, I don't really know what to think about Thomas's team. Like, transparent. Like, has Amari Cooper done anything? Like, I don't even know if Amari Cooper has a touchdown this year. Like, I don't necessarily understand it. Like Devontae Adams has got to be tough because he is still such a good route runner, still getting so wide open, and he's had games where he's looked incredible. But like I just can't trust like the quarterback play. And then obviously like Justin Herbert, Brees Hall, DeAndre Swift, like good workhorses to have. Drake London's actually been playing pretty decent, but that bench like gives me no confidence at all in terms of what he's been able to do. So I'm sure he's been very much relying on Kirk Cousins and Justin Herbert putting up numbers. And when they put up numbers together, he's been solid. But if either one of them's off, which Justin Herbert's been off a couple nights, like Kirk Cousins been off early to start the year, I'm sure it's been kind of tough. But I believe in Tom's management.
He always says, imagine something good happens to me in fantasy, because he has all these guys that, Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper. I mean, Brees is getting better, which has been exciting for him, but all these guys are just like supposed to be great when they're just not. So.
Yeah, I feel like this has probably been, since I've done these reviews, this has probably been the worst Thomas team that I've seen.
There we go. All right.
Poor guy.
I run through his Jacob. All right. I threw Justin Jefferson in there, but here's another freaking crazy. This is how crazy this bye week is. Jacob can't even get 2 more players to start because he doesn't want to doesn't even want to drop anybody, but he doesn't want to put them in. You know what I mean?
So he's just gonna eat the loss potentially this week.
Yep.
Who is his other core? Oh, Goff and Purdy. I mean, I don't understand maybe the emotional attachment to Purdy. Like I probably would have been okay moving on from him.
Mm-hmm.
But all in all, it's a pretty solid team though. Like Travis Etienne's been incredible. Amon-Ra's been sick. Like probably Mahomes has been disappointing in terms of like what you'd expect from him normally in terms of like QB play. Like Jefferson was sick to start the year and obviously been on the IR. Hopefully he'll come back. What does his trade me KC ASAP mean for Mike Evans?
He was just hoping
like trade Mike Evans to Kansas City
right at the trade deadline. That's what he called it.
That's so funny. I know Mike Evans is sick. I was a Bucks fan. Like he's been incredible. Like I mean, he's had some great weeks, honestly, as well. Yeah, I don't know what to think. I feel like he's probably got really good QB depth. Like Goff is probably a top 10 fantasy quarterback right now, right? Like he's been kind of spinning it. Even Purdy's been consistent outside of like the last 3 weeks. So hopefully he hasn't been starting him that much. But like Etienne's been incredible. Evans has been solid. Terry McLaurin, I think he caught a touchdown last week. So I feel like he's got a really strong team, other than potentially Waller being a disappointment at tight end has probably been his biggest pain point for this year.
Justin Jefferson basically every time the first 4 games of the year had like 25 points.
Absurd. Yeah.
So that was a big, hurt for him, but Etienne has probably been the biggest surprise this year. Like, it's crazy. 2 touchdowns.
He's just going on those games where he had
last 3 games.
Yeah, exactly. Like those last 3 games have been crazy. I'm trying to do my rankings right now.
All right. So we went through a really good recap of everyone's team. This is again as unbiased as it gets. David did get a little bit of insight, but I know everybody wants to look at their team and think it's the best, but when you get somebody from the outside that knows football well, it really gives you a good, understanding of where your team sits. So, David, how did you end up ranking everybody?
All right, we'll start top to bottom. It pains me to say my number 1 is, so I'll run through it. My number 1 is Connor. I think I have him down for probably right around like the 6-win mark. I think his QB depth was super good, so that can obviously be super helpful in terms of carrying it. Second, I have Jacob. similarly in that like 5 to 6 win range. Again, I know he had some really good players and like people popping off, specifically like Amon-Ra. It's kind of nice to have that level of quality there. If he's so committed to not playing 2 people this week because he thinks his team is that good, I have to have some confidence in how he's been doing this year.
Good insight.
For Cam, I have him third with around like a lot of the numbers are hard. I feel like you guys are all pretty close, going to be in this like 4 to 5 win range. I put Cam third, so I kind of have him at that 5 win target. But if anyone's going to be tipping from 5 to 6, I gave it to Cam. That was at least my guess. Then fourth, I have Bobby. I have him like marked between 4 to 5 wins. So similarly, kind of in that same boat with Cam. I wouldn't be surprised if they're like shuffled around a little bit, but just given sometimes how miserable the Bills have been, I could see him potentially not having as many wins as he would have liked at this point in the season. 5, I have Andrew, which is great progress because I know Andrew is sometimes finished last in this league. So it's good to be, I think, at this point where he's kind of towards the top, right in the middle, 5, like no complaints there. Who knows, maybe he's higher. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Thomas, I have at 6, which I think is the lowest I've ever ranked Thomas. I'm gonna have to keep like a running list on this, but I don't feel like our sweet prince is probably too happy with his team right now. Specifically some of his QB play and some inconsistencies there, but who knows? Maybe he's meteoricized and Herbert's carried him, but I know he's looked pretty bad some weeks. 7th, I have Finley. I think I have Finley logged down for like 3 wins, maybe tipping into 4, which means unfortunately, Michael, I have you at 8th right now. 2 to 3 wins is kind of where I've pegged you. Just again, I had more details on this one to make a more informed decision. So feel pretty confident you're going to be in that 8 to 7 range. Hopefully 7th, not 8th, but who knows?
All right. That's really honestly well done. That's what I appreciate about you when you do this is like you take it all in and you're able to give us like some insight and some background that actually makes perfect sense. So I'll go ahead and share where we're at. Let me get the Safari. Okay, let me know when you can see this.
I can see it.
Okay, so here we are. Jacob at 6-2, Connor at 5-3, Bobby at 5-3, Andrew at 4-4, Cam at 4-4, Finley at 3-5, I'm at 3-5, and our sweet Prince Thomas at 2.
Oh no.
Oh,
I feel like I did pretty good in terms of like how I bucketed everyone. So I'll take it because I had Connor and Jacob just flip-flop, which is pretty good. And then Bobby, I put him at 4th instead of 3rd. And then Andrew at 4th, and then Cam would have been at 5. So I feel like I had it pretty
no,
good in
that's what
terms of
I
like
said.
the
I was
tiers.
super impressed. Yeah, you were literally right there. And I'll show you really quick what happened because Thomas and I played each other last week. So this is what, flipped the script. Just for some background, he had Devontae and Herbert's second half, and all I had left was the Lions defense, and we were tied at 123 or like 122. And from Herbert's second half and Devontae, he got 1.6 points.
I bet he was so mad.
Dude, oh my God. He's like, yeah. Me and him were like going at it on Sunday, like who was gonna win because it was so up and down. But yeah, overall, perfectly done. That was awesome. We appreciate that. Just a quick look over at week 9. Obviously, these are like pivotal matchups going forward. If I want to make the playoffs at all, I got to basically win out or win 70% of my games. So I got Bobby on the card. I guess I'm gonna have to start Watson because I'm not starting Jordan Love.
Yeah.
Just the fact that Watson's even playing is crazy. But last time I started him, he had negative 2.8. So that was just.
Oh, you did start him on that where he just like got hurt and then was cleared to keep playing, but decided he didn't want to.
Yeah, and
like,
I was
I'm making all his guaranteed money. I don't need to go back in.
The Browns put up like 38 that game. So I was like, oh, Watson would do great. I was so mad. But I mean, Arizona's not great on D, so like I don't know. I feel like he'll do better. And we already talked about how good Bobby's team is. But yeah, down the line, I definitely have a chance. I just need like Waddle and Wilson to play well. And and I need AJ Brown.
Cincinnati D to just dominate.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got these like Cincinnati and Philly, right? So they're both away. So they both could easily have a bad game. But yeah, he's got Kelsey that's probably gonna get like 30, but overall, you know, I got a shot. We got
Are you
Connor.
gonna put a defense in there?
Yeah, I don't know who to start yet, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, I'll pick somebody up. On Sunday is the only day that we don't have like rolling waivers, so I'll just like pick.
So you can do it before. Yeah.
You like Puka or Mixon? Or do I can't
Oh,
sit
it's really
Puka,
hard.
right? I don't even know.
Yeah, it's really hard. The Puka thing sucks because like I think the first week Cup was back, he just took basically every reception that was out there, right? Like that was I think the Arizona matchup, and you had like Puka do nothing. And then for some reason, week 7, the whole script like flips where Puka's getting all these targets and like Cup doesn't do anything. So it's really hard to bank on it.
Yeah. I was looking at some stats that like between Puka and Cup, like since Cup has come back, Puka's target share has gone up. So the two of them are at 35% target share, which is 70% of Stafford's targets, which has like nobody's even ever been over like 50%. Like
That's
it's
crazy.
wild. Like when you had Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce on the Chiefs, that was like 50%. And so like
Wow. They're
70%
like
target
purely
share.
just targeting the two of them. That's
Yeah.
crazy. That makes you feel like good about it, right? In terms of like
Yeah.
feeling he could pop off.
Yeah, if Stafford was any better, man, they would be really good. So we have Connor versus Andrew, and Connor already had Henry play last night. Henry had a great game. Again, yeah, I mean, Connor's team is just great because of these guys, because you got Lamar that can easily go crazy, and Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. Same thing. And Kamara just getting all the targets in the world.
So yeah, I don't know. Overall, I think Connor's got to take that one. We'll look at Finley. This is the matchup of the week because
Ooh.
what the hell are they even doing?
I can't believe that's so funny that Jacob just one of them's playing Taysom Hill at quarterback, and then the other one's just deciding he's gonna bench 2 people, just like not even pick up at least one of them to try to bridge it. But
Yeah,
he feels good about his team. I gotta respect it.
and we're at that point where it's like, it's top 4 getting to playoffs, right? So it's like 4 and
Yeah.
5. Like me and Finn are only one spot out, so it's like he better try to win. And then yeah, especially with like Andrew playing Connor. So we'll see. Cam's looking like the best to fit into that 4 spot. If I'm being honest, it's most likely going to be Jacob, Connor, and Bobby, Cam, and then the 4 of us will fight down there at the bottom. But it's fantasy football, so you never know. And the last matchup of the week.
Oh, my driving crooner does okay though.
Yeah.
Driving crooner.
The only thing that he laughs about anymore. All right, so we got
That he finds joy in.
yeah. He's not liking fantasy right now, I'll tell you that. So yeah, Cam's definitely got the edge in this week. We'll see.
The Levis performance it kind of sucks because like Levis actually looks really good as a quarterback, right? Like he looked really good, but just doesn't translate to fantasy when he doesn't have a touchdown, throws like a pick.
Yeah, I think that Thomas scored by picking him up. He picked him up last week. Like 4 people bid on him. He just was the highest bidder. And like, I think in a keeper league over, having him as an 8-year contract, you're just really starting to think by the end of this year, is he going to be legit or not? So yeah, Cam's team, like Jamar, Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen, his 3 receivers are crazy. Him and Bobby have great receivers, but Bobby has AJ Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, and Stephon Diggs. Like those 3, together, crazy. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, that's kind of a recap of our league where we sit, and we appreciate you coming on and giving us some outside information.
Damn, Finn's even up there at 6, and he's given up the most points allowed.
Yeah, see, this is where
you scored nothing this year.
It's been rough. Well, like look at Finn. He's 6 and 3 and 5.
Yeah.
He almost has the most points. It's because like when Finn does go crazy, like he 201 points. Like look at this. He beat Cam. He had 200 points because he has Fields and
Yeah.
31, 50
Tyreek, DJ Moore. I forgot about that game.
So freaking Cam puts up 183, which is like the second highest
Absurd, yeah.
this season, and he doesn't,
Yeah.
So I think Finley scored 200 twice this year. I think it was like week 2 or week 1 that he went crazy. So it's like that's why he's way up there. But when he's not good, he's
it's just
bad. So that kind of boomer bust type of thing.
yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of where we sit. I think Jacob's feeling pretty good, and I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Thomas is not.
No. Thomas
I'm
is
sure Connor will throw him some scraps and trade him something on the cheap just to help his homie out. We'll see.
See, Thomas is he still has my first for next year. So he has 2 firsts again, but like he's all pissed because in this last draft he got 7th and 8th, right, for his 2 firsts. He just got insanely unlucky. So he's sitting there like, first round picks are worthless, blah blah blah. It's like he should probably sell some of these like Mark Andrew guys and maybe keep like Levis and Herbert, Breece Hall and Swift or whoever he keeps and just kind of try to build for next year. Because I'm probably doing that. If I lose like one or 2 more games, I'm kind of screwed. So
But how does it work for you guys as punishment? Is it literally just whoever finished last, like at the end of the year? Or do you guys do like a toilet bowl for like the final 4 teams?
So as well? Yeah, we'll do the playoff bracket. So whoever gets, last place here.
Gotcha.
So okay. You're trying to like tank without
balance it. Yeah, balance it.
You still gotta not lose. So
yeah.
Yeah, you just let us know when it's time. We already got in our bylaws, the expansion written in, so we'll add 2 more.
You guys' punishment is so scary. I just don't even know if I could do it.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, if you
how would you do it with keepers? What's your bylaws for that? Like, how do you manage like the keepers if people
Connor wrote
expand into it?
It's basically like I can't remember, but it's like he has expansion.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, it's crazy.
Anti-tanking rules.
Yeah, red shirt rule, playoff schedule, all of our penalties. The World Cup event we do every year where everybody makes here we go. Oh, that was it. Oh, expansion. The league would only expand. The number of keepers would be reduced to 4. Oh, so this was when, we were gonna add keepers at this time, but our final draft said going to. So to ensure that the new owners would have, they would get given the 1 and 2 pick in the draft. They would flip a coin, and then probably we would all have to drop like the new owners would get their choice for like a keeper from each team or something.
Yeah, some sort of way to do it, kind of like they do with the expansion drafts for like hockey and stuff.
So yeah, we're ready whenever you are.
I don't know. It would even be the other person, Gregor.
Yeah.
It would need to be someone I know would just be terrible that we could make sure always gets the punishment.
I mean, yeah. And Nick last year, his team, I don't know if you ended up hearing about how he ended up losing, but his team scored like 50 points over 2 weeks in the last 2 weeks of the year. So like,
oh my God,
it was so bad. Like every player on his team had like 2 or 3 points over 2 weeks. It was wild.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'll see if I find it really quick. But yeah, it'll be interesting.
Monumental event, as Connor outlined in there.
Yeah, it would be. Previous leagues, 22 league. Here's the bracket. Yes, already. So I over exaggerated. Yeah, no, he had like 60 points because this is over 2 weeks.
That's so depressing.
And Cam had a horrible, like, look at like Andrew scored 306 compared to 134. So
That's so bad.
it was really rough, honestly. So yeah,
His punch wasn't that bad though. Just the pre-workout, right? Like
yeah,
every Friday night or Saturday night.
yeah, every Saturday night for like a while. So he hated it, but
I could do that one. That would be fine.
yeah. Oh, I just realized you couldn't even see my screen that I was trying to show you, but
No, it was all good. I figured I understood the
yeah.
aspect of it.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, thank you. I'll stop this and then we can talk about Seattle if we
Yeah, yeah.
let me stop recording.